Hey gang, I'm back with another movie review. This time I am staying at home to catch up on a summer indie film release that I missed while I was trying my hardest to explore all of the big budget Hollywood blockbuster films of that season. So today I thought I would stay home, open up my Xbox One, go on my video on demand app for it, and check out Captain Fantastic. This film has been kind of a festival darling since it made its debut several months ago. As far as I can recall, I think it even received a 10-minute standing ovation at the Cannes Film Festival, so that's pretty damn unbelievable when you really stop and think about it. Also, what appeals to me is that this film stars the ever so versatile Viggo Mortensen. I think he is maybe one of the more underappreciated and underrated actors working today. And he is really unafraid to make himself look really unattractive in films. And I mean, he has such a rich variety in the characters that he's played over the years. I mean, yeah, he was in Lord of the Rings, but look at movies like A History of Violence and The Road. And of course, he was just absolutely dynamite in Eastern Promises. This film was also directed by Matt Ross, and he was on television shows like Silicon Valley and Big Love. He's probably more remembered by me as the rich yuppie that Christian Bale tried to kill in a bathroom stall in American Psycho. I'm really interested to see what Ross brings to the table. I'm always compelled to watch a Viggo Mortensen film because he's a very compelling actor. So I'm going to journey off into my living room. I'm going to screen this bad boy and I'll be back with a review. All right, gang, I just finished watching Captain Fantastic on video on demand via my Xbox One. I did not like this movie. There was a large part of this film that I found endearing and quirky and impeccably well acted and frequently moving. And then there are other parts of this movie that frustrated me to no end. I mean, I have to be very honest. It's very rare that such a critically well-respected film like this has come out and I've screened it where I have such a completely indifferent reaction to it. It's really a story about a family man named Ben, who's played by Viggo Mortensen, who has basically taken his entire family unit and has retreated into the wilderness in the Pacific Northwest, and he has decided to raise his entire family completely segregated away from Western society. So
what we created here may be unique in all of human existence.
All the way to the top.
We created a paradise.
No consumerism, no materialism, no technology. They're really roughing it out in the wild. The introductory sections of the film are really quite intriguing because, I mean, the opening scene of the film shows the family on the hunt for a deer, and it really shows the almost militaristic strength that this entire family unit has together. But he does educate the children. I mean, they're essentially homeschooled, and they are hyper literate and also incredibly intelligent. One of the areas that the film had me questioning its story is, are these children really just reiterating what they're being taught by this man, or do they actually form their own thoughts and beliefs and so forth? Are they independent-minded children, or are they just, have they really drank their father's Kool-Aid? Are they just spitting it back at him? That's one of the many problems that I had with this film. Say Ben's wife has bipolar disorder. She ends up in a hospital, and rather tragically, she commits suicide. And this, of course, leaves Ben devastated. He very matter-of-factly tells his family that, yes, their mother is no more and she's committed suicide, but
How's she doing? We're a family.
But unfortunately, her parents want to have a traditional religious funeral, and the anti-religious force that is Ben wants to have nothing to do with this, and he wants to honor his dead wife's wishes to basically be cremated and flushed down a toilet. That is no word of a lie.
This is your fault.
Leslie had a disease.
Wherever you are, stay there. You show up, I will have you arrested.
But of course, Ben will have none of that. So he gathers the kids up on a bus. They journey out to the funeral, and weird hijinks, both dramatic and comedic, ensue.
So they know we're coming.
You know, on a positive, this is an impeccably well-shot film. I think the opening sections of the movie really captured the rugged outdoor beauty and the foreboding level of danger that actually exists for this family living in the wilderness. Also, I think there is a really intriguing theme at the heart of this film that sort of delves into the whole notion of, is public education better for children, or is homeschooling children better for them? And then there's also, it calls into question other films about fanatical fathers who want to raise their children in the wild, like The Mosquito Coast. The child performers and some of the teenage actors that they gather for the film are really quite thanklessly good, because they have to portray kids that are incredibly book smart, but at the same time have no common sense intelligence about the surrounding world around them. So I think that's a really difficult dichotomy that the actors have to portray here, but I think they did it really, really well.
Now, this is your first real test. Remember your training.
They have hot dogs.
What's cola?
Poison water.
And then, of course, there's Viggo Mortensen. And again, like I was alluding to earlier, he really just sheds his pretty boy facade, because let's be honest, the man is a pretty boy. He's a good-looking human being. He really demonstrates what a tremendously gifted actor he can be when he plays really compelling and multifaceted characters. Not that I think that Ben is a completely well-rendered character, but I think Mortensen delivers a better performance for this character than what's actually provided to him on the page. And
Some fights, you can't win. The powerful control the lives of the powerless. That's the way the world works.
he really captures the character's arrogance and his impatience, as well as being a very warm and loving paternal figure to his kids. But at the same time, he's kind of an aggressive lout who puts the kids in danger a lot, which calls into question whether or not this guy is sane enough to raise these kids in the wilderness, and whether or not he's actually doing the right thing. There's one really funny scene in the film where the family stops at Ben's sister's home on their way to the funeral, and it becomes really abundantly clear that her kids are not particularly well educated at all. So Ben tries to prove his point as to the righteousness of his homeschooling by letting his very young daughter recite what the Bill of Rights are all about, especially after his sister's kids doesn't even know what the Bill of Rights are. So I thought that was a very sly and well-handled scene. But if we're getting to the bad of this film, Ben superficially comes off as a very multifaceted character, but he is painted so sympathetically in this film, it really rubbed me the wrong way. This might sound like a very peculiar comparison, but I thought of Patch Adams a lot while I was watching that movie. I know it sounds bizarre, but hear me out.
Yeah, go on, go on.
In Patch Adams, they showed a really self-righteous character who believed that comedy was the only good, best medicine for patients that were dying of cancer. And to me, I found that to be kind of sanctimoniously phony and pretentious. And in the same way, Ben as a character, he lives in a world of perpetual tunnel vision. He is so righteous in his thinking and his thoughts that what he does to educate his children is indeed the only course, that the film sort of very easily sides with him. And that creates this really odd disconnect, because every other point of conflict that he finds himself in with other parents and other people in the outside world, they're really just presented as sort of unsympathetic stooges who don't get what Ben's trying to do. And I thought that's dramatically very dishonest of this film.
The kids need structure. They need to go to a real school.
Take the character that Frank Langella plays. Frank Langella plays the character of Ben's wife's father. And, you know, there could have been a real effort on this film's part to really flesh out his character and make him something really interesting and make him sort of an intriguing foil to Ben, and which he is, because he's sort of this rich, affluent guy who really wants to take Ben's kids away from him and raise them properly.
Even if they make it through whatever it is you're doing to them, they're going to be totally unprepared for the real world.
And I happen to think the opposite is true.
It's child abuse.
And the way that the film sort of presents him as this one-note, almost villainous character really does a disservice to Captain Fantastic.
That almost hit me.
If I wanted to hit you, I would have hit you.
He's really kind of just shown as this self-satisfied and smug a-hole that doesn't really give a crap about Ben or where he's coming from. And I don't like the simplistic manner with which they handled Frank Langella's character. But on the same time, Ben as a character is also very one-note and simplistically rendered, because he really, he doesn't allow the processing of other ideas and other practices in terms of raising his kids. Then there's the question of the kids themselves. They're smart, they're beyond intelligent for kids of their age, yet they really are completely socially awkward. They've been isolated for so long, they don't even know how to deal with people from the outside world.
Sincerely hope you haven't been doing what I think you've been doing.
Your daughter has taught me many things just now. Will you be my wife?
And it really calls into question whether or not this is indeed the right path for these kids.
Unless it comes out of a book, I don't know anything!
And then there's the other notion that Ben, he's kind of this cultish-like figure in the way that he trains his kids to use, like, you know, like weapons, and there's a militaristic attitude that permeates this family unit that's I guess supposed to have some sort of entertainment value, but I kind of found it a little unnerving. And overall, I just think that the film really botched a lot of its core ideas, and I think that ultimately in this exploration of Ben's family unit, which, let's be honest, it's sort of like a survivalist militia in a way. I found it very difficult to reconcile with, and I think that Ross, as a director, I think he too easily sides with Ben's cause, and I think that's what holds the film back from achieving the level of dramatic greatness that it thinks it's aiming for. And don't even get me started on that third act, because where the family perpetrates an act that feels completely like the product of a movie screenplay and not something that would actually happen in reality. I think that was going for manufactured sentimentality, and I think it was really trying to elicit a lot of cheers in audiences, but to me, it kind of left me aghast, I gotta say. I was like, wait, what? Captain Fantastic is a remarkably well-acted film with some strong ideas at its epicenter, but I think the follow-through on those ideas sure left a lot to be desired. So I was very disappointed with Captain Fantastic. I really was. So anyway, there you go. There is my review of Captain Fantastic. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of the film. Also, let me know in the comments below what you thought some of your favorite Viggo Mortensen films are. Thank you very much for watching. Again, if you could like this video, I would really appreciate it. If you could subscribe to my channel, again, that would mean the world to me. Take care, everybody, and I'll see you at the movies.